Hey, it's Chris. Thanks for tuning in. One of the doctors I've admired most over the decades is Dr. Klaper, who has appeared in various Netflix documentaries and also on PBS in the documentary Diet for a New America. I've heard many of his talks over the years and learned a lot, but I compiled a list of questions that I wanted to ask him that I hadn't heard him be asked before, some of them pretty tough. I was particularly interested in childhood nutrition and how some of these mysterious diseases like Crohn's somehow get a foothold tragically in youth when they're very young. So Dr. Klaper, being one of the nicest guys in the industry, agreed to Zoom with me, and I thought everything was going to go great until 4 minutes into it, I realized I had Zoom fail. And so we had to recap a little bit in the beginning, but I still think the interview was super fascinating, and here you go. So we were introducing ourselves to each other, and I was talking about all the years that I've admired you and watched your talks, starting with the Vegetarian Society back in Hawaii. I don't know how long ago that was. And then I asked you if you'd seen the comments on your TEDx talk, which got almost 1 million views.
Wow.
You've reached almost 1 million
views. No idea of that.
Yeah. That's some good stuff.
Great.
You were quite assertive there, actually fiery, and you were a little reserved about that. And I was saying, no, I loved it. And the proof of the pudding is all those comments that you didn't read. That's just an endless scroll of people saying, Dr. Klaper saved my life. My faith in humanity is restored because a man like this walks on the earth. I mean, you really had your fan club going there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate hearing all that. Now I'll let to go back and read some of those.
So what stopped you from reading those comments was that note from Ted, right? That it wasn't verified by legitimate science.
Well, it is, of course, and it's so sad. Every one of us docs who's practicing lifestyle medicine, we get our people on plant-based diets and get their sleep and their stress levels down, all that stuff. We're all seeing this. We're seeing these diseases go away. And for people to say it's not scientific, it's laughable and sad if it weren't so, it'd be funny if it weren't so sad. But slowly and as quickly as we can help it happen, it is starting to change among the medical community as the whole concept of disease reversal is starting to wend its way into the awareness of my colleagues. But we still got a long way to go. So,
can you repeat Kim Williams' great quote?
Oh, what that? Dr. Kim Williams, he's the head of cardiology at Rush Hospital in Chicago. He said two really profound. My two favorite Kim Williams quotes. One is that there's two kinds of cardiologists. There's vegan cardiologists and those who haven't read the literature yet. And that's ultimately because it's reversible. His disease, the atherosclerosis, certainly reversible. And Dr. Williams' second brilliant line is says, "I don't mind dying. I just don't want it to be my fault." And
I never heard that.
Yeah. And when he said that, I said, "Right on, Kim. He's absolutely right."
So that same disclaimer that you got from Ted, Dr. Greger got too, and so did Dr. Barnard. And so you're in great company.
I'm in good company.
I can't imagine anybody who does more research on the science than Dr. Greger and all his legion army of volunteers. So
to tell him it's not scientific is.
I know, it's just crazy. So I was also saying before I realized it wasn't recording that you go back a ways.
Indeed I do. That was from back in the 80s. I see Joaquin Phoenix on the right side, late brother River on the left side there. Yes, absolutely. Lots of memories there. But they all grew up eating vegan diets and they turned into big, strong, Oscar-winning actors. Indeed, it's a reasonable thing to do to raise your child as a vegan. Absolutely.
So that was published back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. I also wanted to get your vegan book published back then. It's out of print, so I went to buy it on eBay. It's $100. Must be a collector's item.
Thanks. You guys have some more printed to start selling them at $100 each.
So forever I've wanted to ask you all these questions that I haven't heard you be asked in other venues, and a lot of it has to do with childhood. Laying the foundations in childhood. And since you wrote that book on childhood, I thought, I'm not going to get him out of his comfort zone like I thought I was. So there was a paper in 2002 you've probably seen, and these two charts. That chart shows the decline in infectious diseases, dramatic.
Yes.
One of the great achievements of medicine and also science. But at the
Yes.
same time, these are charts from 1950 to, sorry for, it goes backwards. From 1950 to 2000, the dramatic rise in, these are
Mm,
diseases of the
mm.
immune system, asthma, and so on. And it's continued from there. And you could add things like autism to that chart. So what's going on with that chart?
Oh my, we could spend hours talking about that one question. It's so profound. Inherent in your question are some basic truths. The human body did not change during those years.
Mm-hmm.
What changed in our society? Yeah, well, the water quality, what could it be? And heavens know there have been changes in the water quality, etc. But not to be around the bush, we've become a fast food nation. And starting in the 60s and 70s, the processed food industry became almost artistic in their ability to make these hyper palatable foods of salty, sugary, fatty chips and schmips and every possible, the snack roll cookies, and they know kids love to eat salt, sugar, and fat, and so they certainly pander to that.
Went to the grocery store the other day.
Indeed. And it's scary as a physician. That's a well-named product. That is scary to consider what that does to, especially the body of a young child. All those sugars damage the inner lining of their arteries. As I tell my pediatrician colleagues, atherosclerosis, the number one cause of heart attacks and strokes, it's a pediatric disease. It starts in childhood. They do autopsies on children killed in car accidents, and at age 8, 9, 10, already they've got these yellow streaks of atherosclerosis in their aortas. And this is, again, has to do with meal after meal of the Egg McMuffins for breakfast and the cheeseburgers and the pizzas and the steady stream of processed fast foods based on meats, dairies, oils, sugars, and all sorts of processing chemicals. How can that possibly not spawn? Yeah, thank you, sir. What was that one? Yeah, Twinkies. Boy, I haven't seen Twinkies in a long time.
Yeah, so
They still exist.
This is my science experiment. I unwrapped it a month ago. I was fresh off reading a book by Rob Dunn about microbes in your house and how they live everywhere. Your water heater, you can't escape them. They're everywhere. And with all due respect to Rob Dunn, the microbiologist who's heralded, great guy, I found a place where they seem to exist just fine. And why don't microbes touch that?
They're smarter than we are. I think some of them, they opened up a tomb in Egypt a few years ago, and they found some Twinkies, and they're still intact and edible, actually, from several thousand years ago. But seriously, the food scientists, they got a great understanding of chemistry. They do a great job, and they know just what preservatives to put in there. So makes it absolutely inhospitable. Salt, sugar, and fat. I really recommend this book. Boy, he spells it out really good, how the food giants hooked us. And really, short of injecting it into your arm there, this is really borders on an addiction. We sort of have these powerful cravings that become self-perpetuating. The more of this stuff you eat, the more the people crave, but they're so damaging on so many levels. They're not only for what they don't supply. A growing child, they need minerals, they need vitamins, they need protein that these processed junk foods don't provide. But what they do provide is a whole bunch of hydrogenated oils and oxidizing sugars and free radicals and chemicals that the human body has never seen before in human history. The butylated hydroxytoluene. Who asked a human liver to deal with that? But now they have to.
And aren't some of those chemicals designed to kill microbes?
Oh, absolutely.
So you put them in a child's gut, and
you wonder,
what does it do?
We do the out of sight, out of mind. Okay, well, the child ate it, so everything's okay now. But as you are rightly pointing out, sir, no, they say in the body, you can't do one thing. Can't do one thing. You know, everything sets off cascades of reactions that should be good. You know, when you eat some lentils, you know, lots of good things should happen in your digestion. But you eat 2,4-dinitrotoluene or butylated hydroxymethylene. What is the body? Do you think that does not affect your liver, your kidney, your brain, and those microbes down in your gut? Of course, it's going to change everything. And we look at so many of the problems our kids are having: attention deficit disorder. They can't concentrate. They can't sleep. They don't interact. What could it be? What's that? Cosmic rays, affecting? It's what your kids are eating. It's what you're feeding them. The computer folks say garbage in, garbage out. Us nutrition folks, it's garbage in, garbage in. It gets in there, and how it's naive to think it doesn't have an effect. And the people are worried about the mercury in vaccines producing autism. Well, good heavens, what are these children eating? We know that the microbes in the gut of an autistic child are very different than in that of normal healthy kids. You wonder, well, why should that be? Well, what are these children eating? What are they being fed? Could that not be part of the cycle? Because, as you're implying, these microbes are not innocent bystanders. They metabolize the food and then they put out byproducts. And these byproducts are neurotransmitters that get into the bloodstream and go up the vagus nerve, and they get into the child's brain, and they don't produce harmony and coherence up there. And I'm not saying it's the sole cause of autism, but boy, when they finally solve that one and tease it out, it's got every clinical characteristic of a toxicity of some sort. These kids are toxic from something. Their cerebral spinal fluid is very different. But where's it coming from? It's coming from their gut, from the food being put down there. As I said, they may have a genetic chromosomal issue here, but I'll be shocked if the food stream does not play a major role in perpetuating that dreadful state of autism these kids find themselves in.
So one thing is fascinating that I wanted to ask you about is I have an analogy of California firefighters. I'm in California, and my house is populated with 5 very rambunctious vegan, whole plant-based grandchildren right now, and their wonderful mother and their father, who's a primary care physician, and he has a question. They all have questions for you later in this interview.
Okay.
And they look at like these Twinkies and say, "Oh, those are disgusting. I would never eat that." And they grab a banana, which is interesting. But what I find fascinating is the plant-based doctors, you and Dr. Barnard and Greger and Caldwell Esselstyn and so on, you're like firefighters on the ground fighting this raging fire, but then these other crews come in from other places and they, do something different, fly helicopters, I don't know what. And it feels like there's a whole community of microbiology researchers now, Rob Knight and Jeff Gordon and so on. And they're coming to it from a different angle from, say, antibiotics, like Martin Blaser. This is a fascinating book I just finished. And but they're saying the same things as you guys are. Eat plants, eat whole plants, 30 of them per week. That's the leading indicator. Eat 30 whole plants a week. I heard it as 30 per day, and so I started eating 30 per day. And I could do it. I had made a list, and now I'm kind of hooked on it. So one of the points that they made is this: one of the signature of autistic children, and also a predictor of Parkinson's disease, is the lack of, for example, Prevotella, one of the bacteria that's just reduced in population. In fact, their whole gut microbiome is severely reduced, and they have constipation and everything that goes with it. The only reason I can remember Prevotella is I think well, it's not mozzarella, and you probably reduce its population by eating too much mozzarella. Just my memory trick. Anyway, so do you interact much, the plant-based doctors? And why don't they get pushback like you do? The plant-based doctors do. They go give their talks on eating plants and 90%, whole plant diet, and nobody bats an eye.
Well, I'm not familiar with these physicians. I haven't read their book, though. I'm very interested in doing so. Why don't they get pushed back? It depends what they're advocating. As long as they advocate the a healthy version, unquote, of a standard American diet. Others, it's okay to eat meat, but keep it in moderate amounts or whatever. So I don't know exactly where they stand with the meat and processed food issue. They're probably saying enough to not to call the forces of evil down upon them there.
That could be. I noticed some of them drink a little kefir and eat a little yogurt.
Right, exactly. Right. But to your larger point, I think the microbiome, the more we recognize it and study it, the more profound we see its influence on us. And the dark image of that is that modern life is an assault on our microbiome. And when you consider all the things you turn on our tap, and what comes out? Water that's been treated with chlorine at the local drinking water plant. Now, that's fine. I don't want to be treating cases of cholera and typhoid fever. It's okay. But we can't kid ourselves that when we drink that water or make a soup or a tea out of it, that chlorine isn't having an adverse effect down in our gut. Those folks who are still eating meat, the chickens and the farmed fish, they're all full of antibiotics. They feed these animals lots of antibiotics, and they're still active when they get down in our gut. The coffee drinkers, coffee is a bacteriostatic substance, and to be drinking 3 cups a day
I didn't know that.
coffee, right? I don't want to make folks too paranoid there, but some of these herbal teas, peppermint tea, etc., that peppermint plant's not making that peppermint oil for your afternoon tea. Those are antibacterial oils that plants get infections, and they make these oils to keep the bacteria out. Well, here we are drinking it as tea. There's of course, the glass of wine with dinner, the alcohol that people are drinking, modern life, and then the preservatives and all the chemicals that are in processed foods. Modern life is an assault on our gut flora. No wonder it gets really distorted just from the habits that we've adopted just to live in the society. But if you get back to raising a child with a healthy microbiome, one of the best gifts you can give them is to come into their adulthood with a healthy, intact microbiome, and that depends on whole plant foods. Despite the mythology about the paleo diet and our caveman ancestors, like every Neanderthal had a mastodon in the freezer and spent all day eating mammoth meat. I'm a caveman, I eat meat. The reality is, when you examine the fecal droppings that have been fossilized from these folks and other indicators, the majority of calories brought into the Paleolithic camp were gathered by the women who spent all day foraging and digging up these starchy roots and tubers, these corms, C-O-R-M-S. And we were starchivores, and we're starchivores now. We are carbohydrate-eating creatures, along with edible grasses and berries and nuts and seeds that would be gathered. I'm sure the occasional lizard wound up in the pot, and the occasional carcass was dragged into camp. But we're plant-eating hominids. We've got fingers on our hands, not claws. We got long intestines for digesting fiber. We've got saliva with starch-digesting enzymes. We're clearly plant-eating creatures. And as the food stream of whole plant foods goes down the gullet, the microbiome that's going to spawn is going to be filled with Prevotella and these other beneficial organisms. And that should be the end of the story. Throughout our lifespan, every plant-based meal should fortify that microbiome that has a stability to it. That even if one consume some tainted food or drink some water with some toxic substance in it and jolts the microbiome, for a day or two. It comes back, as long as that whole food stream is going down there, it restores its equilibrium. And that's all it's asking from us, is to keep that steady food stream going. But as soon as the plant-based food stream, but as soon as you start throwing ground animal muscle down there, and along with the oils and the sugars and the rest of the junk food diet, it skews things grotesquely. And you're never surprised when autoimmune diseases and leaky guts and colon cancers and all that get spawned. Those should never happen. Those diseases that you saw rising there, those should never arise in the human being. It never was a problem before. But of course, as the advent of modern processed food and a flesh-based diet since World War II, that sowed the seeds for these dreadful diseases that are now the standard fare of every primary care doctor. And all of them are needless diseases. There's no reason that the child should have to deal with those.
It's so crazy. I think if I read the numbers right, autism was 1 in 5,000 in 1970, and now it's 1 in 59.
Exactly. Time out right there. Yes, when I was a boy in medical school in 1970, literally, when I read about autism, it was 1 in many hundred, 800, 1,000. Rare. You may never see one of these children in practice. And I never thought I would. It's one of those things you learn about on pediatric rotation and you never think you see it. Well, look what happened. Now that's blown up. Now why, who, how did that happen? Well, the story is pretty evident. Look where our society has gone with its food supply, sure.
So you've been in this business for, you went plant-based something like 35 years ago.
1981.
1981, yeah. And so almost 40 years ago. So
Right.
What's changed? What's happened over the 40 years? What have you seen?
Oh my. What I have seen, I've seen, boy, the pendulum has swung so far to the reductionist side. Medicine has become a search for that magic molecule. If we can just take apart every food, every medicine, every biological process to get down to that one molecule that turns on that one gene that's going to produce these wonderful changes in organ extract, and it's become that. We just don't know enough yet, but the faith we have in those smart guys in the research labs that are working 24/7 to come up with a mesocillin that's going to save us. That's where lots of modern medicine has gone. And that's much to my dismay. Now, there's been some wonderful things that come out of that, and thank heavens for antibiotics and some of these anti-Parkinson drugs and things. They certainly can be life-helping and sometimes life-saving. I'm not saying there's no need for acute care medicine, but the practice, especially primary care medicine, people come in, what's your problem? Okay, grab the prescription pad. Okay, take 2 of these, and if you're not better in a month, come back and see me. And it's become this pharmacological exchange, but the soul has gone out of most medical interactions. But in that sterilization of the vital medical essence, it has spawned I hate to use the word backlash, it spawned a dialectic. There's a lot of physicians who still have that, they're an alive healer's soul in them, who know the importance of what healthy food does, all of us who have seen a whole food plant-based diet reverse these diseases, turn obese, clogged up, diabetic, hypertensive, inflamed people. They get a whole food plant-based food stream going in within days. The obesity starts to melt away, the arteries relax, the blood pressures come down, the joints stop hurting, the psoriatic skin clears up, the asthmatic lungs stop wheezing so much, migraine headaches get better, the colitis bowel movements settle down, and they turn into normal, healthy people again. That's the most powerful medicine you could ask to deliver to your patient. when I'm lecturing to medical students, I say, what more could you ask as a healer to restore your patients to health like that? But it starts with what your patients are eating. And say, before you order another $1,000 scan, another $500 lab test, ask your patient what they ate yesterday. And if it's full of burgers and buffalo wings and pepperoni pizzas, that's why they're sitting in front of you, doctor. It's not some genetic mismatch on gene 21 on chromosome 14. It's what they're running through their freaking bloodstream every 4 hours that's oxidizing and damaging onto every tissue in their body. Well, I don't know anything about nutrition. I don't have time to do counseling. You don't have to, doctors. There's plant-based dietitians now. Send the patient to the dietitian. Let her do the counseling. Let her show them the videos. Let her take them shopping. You see them back in a month. See if they're not leaner and healthier and functioning better, because that's what you're going to see. It's time for medicine to change, because that high-tech medicine is not only missing the root causes, it's expensive, it's elitist, it's not available to everyone. But rice and beans and broccoli are available to everybody. And that's really where the key is. And it's so, it's not only unfair to the patients to deprive them of this life-saving knowledge, it's not fair to the doctor who are leaving medicine in droves. My cardiologists are, they're all, my patients are all getting fatter and sicker. They all need stents. They're all going to need bypasses. That's right, doctor. You don't talk to them about what they're eating. Don't get on a plant-based diet. That's exactly what you're going to see. But please, there are going to be more and more plant-based cardiologists who are seeing these diseases reverse. So we're at a cusp of ages, I hope, where the old high-tech exclusive approach to medicine is yielding to a more holistic, I might say, more life-oriented. What is the patient eating? How are they sleeping? What are they drinking? What's happening in their home? How much exercise do they get? That's where health lies. And the doctors who take that into account are going to be the true healers as they let the body's own healing forces come to the fore and really do the real healing that every doctor knows that's where real healing lies.
So that brings up Crohn's disease, because I've heard you say most doctors have the opinion that it's a lifetime disease and it really can't be reversed and you got to do the surgery. And the surgery is difficult, isn't it? Because there's lesions all over the place you got to track down. But you say nonsense. If you get somebody on a good diet, and even if you do the surgery and they don't get on a good diet, yes, then it will recur. My son-in-law, the primary care physician, said, when I asked him about that, he said, "Oh, absolutely. His Crohn's patients, he sees basically more than remission. It looks like recovery." What would you say about
disease
that?
reversal? Disease reversals, absolutely, absolutely. I went through 45 years of medical practice before anybody put those two words in the same sentence for me. That these are reversible diseases. And when I give my lectures to the medical students, I say, I'm going to give you the lecture I wish somebody had given me 50 years ago when I was a first-year medicine. Why didn't somebody tell me this? It would have changed the course of my whole medical career. It would change every diagnosis I made, every treatment recommendation I made. This is the wave of the future, but it should have been the standard all along. And so absolutely, kudos to your son-in-law. I'm so glad. It soothes my soul to hear a younger doctor saying those words. It's very hopeful.
Yeah, he's 39, but he has a baby face. And I'm going to try to share my screen to so that my daughter and then my son-in-law can ask you separate questions.
Sure.
We'll see how this works. My daughter, Annie, she has a bachelor's degree in chemistry, I think, with a minor in nutrition. And
Great.
She's taken it very seriously herself and for her 5 kids. And those kids, it's crazy to see. We go to the farmer's market and they pick up a piece of kale and they're munching along. It's
I wonder if, yes, that's the way it's supposed to be. Good
I've
for
never
them.
seen kids do that before. Let me
great.
see if I can find.
Okay.
Hey, Dr. Klaper. I'm convinced that mothers have tremendous power over the food culture in their homes. But I also know most moms already feel busy and overwhelmed. So I'm curious, if you could give a message to mothers everywhere about nutrition, what would that message be?
What a lovely question. What a lovely daughter you have.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
As well, absolutely.
I idolize her.
Yes, this is such an important question. As the twig is bent, so grows the tree, and how we nourish our children in childhood changes everything on a physical level, sort of on the microbiome level, but it changes our approach to food. It changes. No child should ever be obese. No child should ever develop diabetes. No child should develop artery disease. And a whole food plant-based diet will spare them those curses. It's so important to get these children eating healthy. So she's asking what do you say to parents? So first thing is to say that to them. This is not theoretical, and it's not difficult. To get your child eating healthy, and you should make it a priority. This is serious business because these diseases are spawned in childhood, and it's so sad to get to have your child after 10, 12 years of eating the standard Western diet develop Crohn's disease or colitis or diabetes. You really want to spare them that. So just cast as how this is serious business.
Can I interrupt for just 1 second?
Sure.
Isn't the common onset for Crohn's disease between ages 15 and 30? I've heard you say
Yes,
it's a young person's disease.
It's a young person's disease, absolutely. Yeah, but it's largely from the fast food diet they've been eating through their adolescence and puberty and teen years. After 10, 15 years of eating that kind of food, you spawn microbes in the gut that invade the gut wall and set off these hellacious inflammatory states of Crohn's and colitis. So back to your daughter's question. So first of all, this is serious business, and you have control. This is not, there's no time to play helpless victim. Well, that's my child. My child likes to eat pizza, and that's all there is to it. You're the parent. Okay, it's up to you as far as what you bring into that house. When you are pushing that cart down the supermarket aisle, you have the power to decide what goes in that basket. And if you don't bring the Twinkies and the junk food home, then it's not in the house, then they're not going to be eating it. So right there, you've got tremendous control. Second, you've got to set the good example. It's no good telling your children, eat the broccoli while you're shoveling in your own pepperoni pizza there and following it with the beer there. The kids, the recorder's always on, and they are watching what you do. And if they see mom and dad enjoying these whole plant foods, that makes such a huge difference. Third, you gotta make it taste great. Meet your child where they're at. Most kids like mashed potatoes. They like peas in a pod. They like corn on the cob. Well, make sure those show up frequently. Now, a lot of kids like spaghetti. Great. You can put all sorts of things in that spaghetti sauce. And there's a whole world of creative ways to get kids to eat healthy. And I invite all parents to do a search on raising vegan children or healthy eating for vegetarian children. And you'll see articles from the Vegetarian Resource Group and from PCRM. There's a whole world of vegan moms who've written these articles that are just jewels as far as ideas that you can get. So you're not alone. There's a community out there to support you. So I really welcome that question because it implies action on the part of the parents, and that's what's required. So it starts with educating yourself, understanding the importance of it, setting the good example, and then finding those ways to get your child excited about eating healthy food. A good example was in a recent public school when they put apples and oranges on the kids' cafeteria trays. The kid would go down the line and they would get to the garbage, and the apple and the orange would wind up in the garbage can. But when the light went on, when they cut up the apple, and there were apple chunks and orange slices already out there. Ooh, kids like that. And same fruit, but once it's all cut up and the kids didn't have to do anything, they ate it. And to expand that, there's ways to meet the kids, get them involved, help them take them shopping. Bring them to the produce department. Well, it's interesting to your son or daughter, and let them pick the colorful fruits and veggies and bring them home, and let them chop them up and get involved in cooking. Ooh, then it's fun to eat the vegetable soup. So there's lots of ways to do this, and I really encourage parents, don't be flummoxed by this. Take it on as a challenge. It's only this big a challenge, but it's certainly worth meeting on every level. It's a gift beyond measure to have your child achieve adulthood with a healthy body and a healthy microbiome and a good understanding what good food is. It's a gift beyond measure. So thanks for the question.
Thank you. So I have one from my son-in-law, primary care physician, that I'll play for you in just a minute. But first, you go on tour, right, of medical schools and speaking to students?
Yes, I've been until COVID came along. I've been to 25 medical schools, and I had a whole lecture tour. I was going through the Texas medical schools in Houston and Dallas, San Antonio, and then out to LA, and then up to Seattle. I had this wonderful lecture tour lined up, but boom, COVID, we got COVIDized, and so now we're online. And so I said, this information is the body of knowledge of how to use plant-based nutrition in clinical practice is something that every doctor should know. So we put together a course of 12 master classes in applied plant-based clinical nutrition. And we're now on master class number 6. And I invite people to just Google master class in clinical plant-based nutrition. Or go to my website, drklaper.com, and click on our master classes. And it's very reasonably priced, people are too cheap. But it's what every doctor should know. So yes, we've made this an online course, and I invite people to check it out.
By the way, I need to leave a review on this, but somewhere along the line, I found a talk that you gave at True North, I think, about an hour, 10-minute talk or something, and it's on Vimeo, and you can buy it for $10. And I bought it and watched it, and I thought, no wonder he has this reputation as a master explainer. The way you explained like gallbladder flushes and what a fraud they are, and colon cleanses and what a fraud they are, and what the gallbladder does, I was never entirely clear on that. It was so masterful. Just so
lovely. That one's called Sense and Nonsense in Nutrition.
Yeah.
And it's on Vimeo. Again, go to my website, drklaper.com, DOCTORKLAPER. It's all spelled out. And you'll find those videos there.
It was, that was an hour well spent. So
thank you.
So here's Scott.
Dr. Klaper, I suspect I'm not alone in finding that many of my patients struggle to move from the contemplation or even preparation stage of change to the action stage. How do you encourage your patients who may be on the fence to take the plunge and begin eating a vegan diet?
Wow, another profound question. And again, theory is one thing, but you gotta put the food in the mouth before it does any good. So how do you make them do that?
He's actually really funny. He's got a funny sense of humor. And sorry about the phone ring. And he said, I hope Dr. Klaper doesn't think I suck as a doctor.
Right, no, lovely man. And it's a very important question, absolutely. So it's important for people to understand that a vegan diet is nothing exotic. People are eating this food anyway. Everybody's already eating this. We're talking about oatmeal in the morning with some berries on it, but with some almond milk or oat milk instead of cow's milk on it. So you're already eating a vegan breakfast. It's readily available. And lunches and dinners, we're talking about salads and soups and steamed veggies. Well, people are already eating the salads, just a non-dairy salad dressing, hearty vegetable soups. And, so we choose the bean chili instead of the beef chili. It's not that big a sacrifice. But people are already eating that. It's easy to make up a nice chili or a stew using vegetables only. And have fun with the cuisines. You can make it Italian style, Asian, East Indian, Mexican. Have fun with all the seasonings. And the taste really is in the flavorings. And desserts, everything from these lovely fruit bowls to fruit smoothies, etc. The food is delicious, And so have them start with things that they already enjoy. Mashed potatoes, most everybody likes it. Most everybody likes corn on the cob. And just point out to them, you're already eating this food. It's just a matter of what's in the center of the plate. Do you want to have does it have to be the breast of a chicken? How about a scoop of tofu stir fry instead, or a bean chili? So tell them that it's not that big. It's not like they're never going to see their family again, and we're sending you off to Mars and on a one-way trip. It's not like that. Point out they're already eating this, and then come up with just a one-day food plan. Here's a plan. Here's a vegan breakfast. Here's a vegan lunch and a vegan dinner. Okay, have spaghetti with tomato sauce for dinner. I have a veggie burger for lunch, and oatmeal with berries for breakfast. And you made it through a whole day, plant-based. Do that once a week, okay? And then expand from there. So there's all sorts of transition plans. I really urge they did such a great job. Have your person on the fence go to PCRM, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, PCRM.org, and they have their 21-day kickstart, and they send you these simple, easy recipes that they take you by the hand and walk you right through it. Have them go to I get them off the fence. There's a wonderful film called Forks Over Knives, and they have a wonderful website. Have them go to forksoverknives.com and see the film there. It is life-changing to see these people get healthy on a plant-based diet. But then look on the top of the website. They've got recipes and transition plans and shopping lists. They take you by the hand and make it really easy. So like my high school basketball coach said, you gotta want it. You gotta want it. If you don't want it, nothing happens. So talk to the patient, and the primary care physician often gets them at a teachable moment. They just had that first episode of chest pain. They just had some loose stools. They just had some bloody stools. So now you got their attention. So this is a perfect time to take them by the hand and say, how about some oatmeal and berries for breakfast tomorrow? How about, have you ever eaten squash before? Here's how you make it taste really good. And you get them on these friendlier foods for their medical condition, and that's often the doorway in. So lots of ways. You got to be creative, but you got to make sure they're really ready. But often, if they were sitting in your office, doctor, they're ready. So you got a great opportunity, and give them something in their hand. When they give them a one-page handout, go to these websites, read these articles, see this video, and you'll know what to do. And okay, all right, the doctor said this, okay, and the doctor has such great power there. Give them some guidance, and they often are ready to make that move. And then see, I want to see you back in a week after you've eaten three days vegan. Come back and see me. And I'll be real surprised that, it was terrible. I hated the veggie burger. I hated the spaghetti. They can say, it wasn't so bad. And that's how the change happens.
Yeah, that's really great. So you mentioned the smoothie earlier on, and I think I heard you way back when at the Hawaiian Vegetarian Society express some skepticism about smoothies.
Yes.
Being too fine, the steel blades, chopping up the fiber and so on. So little Josie has a question for you about that.
Dr. Klaper, my mom wants me to drink green smoothies. What did you say?
Oh, she's adorable. Oh, wow, what a jewel. I'm working for her. I mean, I'm working for the animals and for the kids. And it's so great to see the little ones like that. So she's asking, are smoothies okay? Is that what she's asking her? My thinking about smoothies has evolved over time, as every good scientist. When new experiences and information comes along, you got to adopt your views.
Did Brooke Goldner have something to do with that?
Brooke Goldner has something to do with it, absolutely. Back in Hawaii, when I was railing against smoothies, one issue was that we were talking about fruit smoothies, and people would just load up with bananas and pineapple and grapes and cherries, and then buzz it up and then bolt it down in 90 seconds. And there's nothing physiologic about flooding your system with 32 ounces of fructose and rich liquid. And so that was my concern. And the blade, you turns it into you really liquefy these veggies. They're absorbed so quickly. And fructose is not the friendliest sugar when it's, you couldn't eat 2 pounds of grapes, but you could sure put them into a smoothie there. And so that's the issue. That said, along comes, so I put a thumbs down on the smoothies up to that point. Then years go by, and I encountered Dr. Brooke Goldner, who's this wonderful medical doctor. She's board certified in psychiatry. But she, during her medical residency, developed a very aggressive case of systemic lupus, put her into kidney failure. She was headed for dialysis. She went on a whole food plant-based diet, and she started consuming these green smoothies. And there's some wonderful videos available online how Dr. Goldner makes her smoothie, but basically she takes a Vitamix, these powerful blenders, and she packs it full of these fresh greens, the baby kale, baby broccoli, and she packs it, uses her elbow to jam it down in there in a big blender container. And then on top of that, she throws in a half cup of ground flax seeds and chia seeds for the omega-3s. So add one piece of fruit, a frozen banana or a chunk of frozen mango, just so it doesn't taste like lawn clippings, and liquid and as far as some almond milk. And that's it. But it's a green smoothie with some fruit. It's not a fruit smoothie with some greens. And she blends that up, and she winds up with this very brilliantly green smoothie. And it's just filled with all the wonderful phytonutrients and antioxidants. But again, you don't bolt that down in 90 seconds either. You drink it all day. I tell my folks, put a little 6-ounce glass out by the fridge there. And every time you're walking by the fridge, pour yourself a little 6-ounce glass and sip it. Take a mouthful, put the glass down, chew it up, mix with your saliva, swallow it, wait 10 minutes. Let it get down into your intestines, out into your digestive system. And then have another mouthful, put the glass down, chew it up, swallow it, wait 10, 15 minutes. Take half hour to go through those 6 ounces. And work your way through that smoothie all day. So you're just constantly drizzling the slow grade, phytonutrient rich food mixture into your cells. And you got to think that had a big positive effect in her recovery from the lupus and the inflammation going on. And she's now had thousands of folks follow her along on this, and the people with rheumatoid arthritis and the ankylosing spondylitis and all these inflammatory diseases, they're reporting a great improvement because it heals the gut wall, it heals the cells on a cellular level. So in that way, I become, this is therapeutic medication almost in a form of a smoothie. And because I'm sure the vitamin companies would love to take a look. Well, what's in that smoothie? Let's see if we can isolate out the individual antioxidants, and we'll get some kind of powder that people can put in a drink. It's the food. You've been the food all along, and even though it's been blended, it's still whole foods you're talking about. And eat whole foods, and this is a lovely way to get the advantage of the particular healing benefits of those dark greens. So in that way, I become a therapeutic smoothie fan. Do you need it every day? Probably not, but a few times a week, I think it's a fine thing to have in your diet.
So not many people ask you a question this specific. And in some ways, I'm a little worried that you're going to start crying and curl up in the fetal position on the floor. I would hate to see that. Nina Teicholz, do you know that name? She wrote a bestseller.
Yeah, her, right, and the fat thing, yeah.
Yeah, New York Times bestseller, The Big Fat Surprise, Why Butter and Red Meat Belong in a Healthy Diet. And she's a journalist with degrees from Stanford and Oxford. She's not, she's a well-accomplished journalist. She writes for the Atlantic magazine and the New York Times and so on. So Joe Rogan had her on his show, and she wrote a rebuttal of the film What the Health. And Joe Rogan has, 10 million followers. And we both admire Rich Roll, and he has, 300,000 by comparison. So, they're in different universes in terms of popularity. and he wouldn't have someone like Rich wouldn't have somebody like me on his show. But one of the things she said in her rebuttal of what the health is, 32, I think it was 32 scientific claims were made by vegan doctors, and you have to discount them out of hand just because they're biased. So, I mean, are you biased because you eat plants in addition to recommending them, or should you be eating meat so you wouldn't be so biased? Or how does that work?
I'm biased in favor of people getting healthy. And this is what we see again and again. These diseases regress. If you've got clogged artery, you've got severe angina, and you eat a high-fat diet, you eat a meat-based diet, you get your last will and testament in order. That is highly irresponsible. In fact, plant-based diets reverse atherosclerosis. We've seen it again and again. I can show you the angiographic proof of this. It's not a matter of bias, it's science. You want me to not believe my own eyes? Look at Dr. Essenson's study. The plaque is all encroaching on the artery. 22 months of a plant-based diet, the plaque regresses. Am I not to believe that? Is that a bias? That's for her to say that. It just really feels beyond irresponsible. It's unfair. It really makes me doubt what most anything she's saying. Now we can talk about people with meat dependencies. You want to get meat cravings also. There may be some physiology behind that, but for her to make a statement like that, and so what she's saying, eat all the cheeseburgers you want, it's good for you. She's biased on this. Who's paying her to
I just
say
don't
that?
understand the logic. It's sort of like, am I supposed to, when I go work out and I hire a physical trainer, am I supposed to get one who doesn't work out so they're not biased about whether it works or not? You know?
Exactly. It's sad. People really, like Dr. McDougall said, people love to hear good news about bad habits, man. So, the doctor says it's okay. No, the doctor doesn't say it's okay.
I know you have to run in a minute. I only have 2 remaining questions for you.
It's okay. Sure.
One is I've heard you say sometimes that some people revert off their vegan diets and they don't feel well, they don't do well or something. Sometimes you hear stories about, well, I had to eat a little bit of fish, to feel well. I think even Martina Navratilova and Dave Scott, who won 6 Ironman World Championships, said that. I don't feel that, and I've been vegan for almost 20 years, and we all know the studies, the Seventh-day Adventists, thrive, the vegan ones, and so on. What's happening in those patients? Is their microbiome so damaged that they can't digest fiber anymore, or what's going on?
Interesting thought. Here's my theory. Okay, haven't proved it, but I suspect what we're seeing, because I too have seen a lot of people go vegan, and after a year or so not doing so well, they eat some meat and they feel better. Vegan, schmegan, I'm a carnivore. Now they're either all got together and say, let's drive Dr. Klaper nuts and revert her, or else they're telling us something that's valid. And here's what I think might be happening. In our society, when a newborn baby, 6 months of age, still nursing at the breast, with all the love in the mother's heart or the daddy's heart, your mother didn't know, my mother didn't know, they would just want the best and the most nutrition going into their little baby. At age 6 months, that jar of baby lamb, baby chicken, baby turkey is opened. And from that point on, 3 times a day, animal flesh is slathered on that child's intestinal tract, all through infancy. By age 2 or 3, they're in McDonald's eating their Happy Meals. They're all on a flesh-based diet, 3 times a day, all through infancy, childhood, their puberty years, 3 times a day. Bacon for breakfast, cheeseburger for lunch, chicken for dinner, ice cream for dessert. It's a flesh-based diet throughout their teen years, their 20s, their 30s. Well, you eat animal flesh 3 times a day, 30 years since infancy. You're going to develop a dependency on it. Why? Well, our body, especially in our muscles, we make muscle-related nutrients, carnitine, creatine, similar molecules. Your body makes it. But if it's coming in pre-formed from the muscle of the cow and the pigs and the chicken that you're eating, if your blood and your tissues are all full of carnitine all the time, well, what do you think your genes are going to do? They're going to downregulate your own production. of carnitine, creatine, and those as shorthand for hundreds of different muscle-related molecules. You're going to downregulate your own. You don't want too much carnitine around. Those might turn into trimethylamine oxide and be a problem. So your body will turn down its own production of it. And that's okay as long as it's constantly coming in the food stream. Then at age 35, say you see a movie like Forks Over Knives or What the Health, and you go plant-based. Yay, you feel good for a while, but what has happened to all that preformed carnitine creep? Gone. Now you got to make your own right now. And you got to gear up your enzymes and your genetic machinery to do all this metabolism that's had been done for you by eating the flesh of these animals. Most people, like you and me, like you, can make that transition without a problem. Most people are able to gear up their enzymes, and it's not an issue. But some folks in the bell-shaped curve of humans, there are going to be some folks there might be a lag, but by the time they gear up their enzyme systems, it might take them a few months before everything gears out, their microbiome changes, etc. And during that time, they draw down on their own carnitine stores, creatine stores, and all those other muscle nutrients. They don't feel so great. And then they eat some meat, and then all those preformed nutrients flood through their tissues. Whoa, I feel great. I'm a carnivore, vegan, schmegan, man, give me my meat. And people see this and they take it, vegan diet doesn't work. But what are we witnessing here? This is not normal human physiology. This is an acquired dependency created by feeding a human infant animal flesh 3 times a day since infancy. You could create a Homo sapien creature dependent upon animal flesh. So what? You can create a heroin addict by giving them an addictive drug 3 times a day. This is not normal physiology. This is acquired dependency. Well, how do I know that? Because there's a population of people who've been raised as vegans since birth, and they do not have meat cravings. Their mouths do not water when they walk past a barbecue. They are different biological creatures. And so I feel great compassion for these folks who are stuck with this dependency. So what do? They may need to eat, in the transition time, they may need to eat some flesh once a week, twice a week for X number of months and slowly stretch out the time interval in between. And I had people, when I was working at True North Health Center, we would do their exit interview, and the guy, I'm going to eat meat twice a week, doc. Okay, fine, sure beats 3 times a day. I'll take that. If everybody got their meat eaten down to twice a week, we'd be a lot healthier nation, no doubt. But then you see them back in a month and say, yeah, we eat it once a week on Sundays now. And you see them back a couple months later, we eat it maybe twice a month now. And you see them a couple months later, we stopped eating this stuff. It wasn't appetizing anymore. And it slowly fades out of the diet. And that's fine with me. That's the way the people, the path they have to take. Whatever gets you there is okay with me here. So, but Mr. Rogan and the All or Nothing crew, I started feeling bad, didn't work, I ate meat, feel better, that's all I need to know. And I think that's how it gets short shrift from some important science that needs to be understood more and worked with. But to throw the baby out with the bathwater, that it doesn't work because of the way I was raised and the dependency that was fostered in me to eat the flesh of animals 3 times a day. Like zombies, I gotta work, I need more flesh now. A couple hours gone by, I need more flesh. We're not homo carnivorous, we're not carnivorous apes. We have no biological need for this stuff. If you raise a child on a plant-based diet, they don't develop that. So this is what I think we're looking at. And I have compassion for these folks, and they need to be understood and talked with and worked with, but in no way does it invalidate a plant-based diet. And for the folks pushing the paleo keto, everybody ought to be eating paleo. Are you really serious, sir, about a flesh-based diet 3 times a day, a flesh-based meal 3 times a day for 8 billion people on this planet?
I'm an earth
that would
scientist
destroy this planet.
I'm an earth scientist by background, and it just makes my head explode.
Exactly. And that's an elitist, arrogant, unsustainable, outrageous plan or idea to be putting out, everybody ought to be eating flesh 3 times a day. Who are you kidding? What planet are you living on? Especially this day and age.
I did the math. It doesn't check out.
Oh, it can't be. So we are, the message we're getting from our bodies, from the animals, from the universe is Homo sapiens. If you want to survive as individuals without heart attacks and strokes, evolve your diet to a plant-based diet. Homo sapiens as a species, if you want to continue to exist on this planet with the disappearing forests and water and soil, change to a plant-based diet as a species. It's the one thing you could do. Doesn't cost a thing to order the bean chili instead of the beef chili, but it makes all the difference literally in the world. So plants are where it's at. No matter how you look at it, how you slice it, it's time to adopt a plant-based diet. Mr. Rogan and Ms. Teichholz, I wish them well on their own planet Flesho, but it's not planet Earth.
Thank you. That's a great answer. I know you have to go. Fortunately, Caitlin has a very short question.
Sure.
Dr. Klaper, I just want to know what your favorite treat is.
Oh, what's my favorite treat? Oh, boy. Probably a big bowl of berries with some almond milk on it. I'm a big berries and milk fan, so that's my favorite treat. Without
that was my
blueberries, raspberries.
That was my midnight snack last night as I was preparing for this interview.
Look at that!
Frozen berries from Costco.
There's a whole world, a whole universe of berries. God bless them all. They're great.
That's great.
What a cutie she is.
Yeah,
you're a wealthy man. I don't know what the balance is in your bank account, but if those are your grandchildren, you are a wealthy man. I'll tell you.
And most of the parents are trying to raise their kids to eat healthy food. So
that's the greatest gift, to give your child a plant-based body growing up. They will never be obese. They'll never develop diabetes. They're not going to develop clogged arteries, cancers, any of that. It's such a blessing.
Well, one of the greatest gifts I was ever given is I was asked to caddy for Jack LaLanne, and we bonded, and I caddied for him a bunch of times. And when we would get to the halfway house around the golf course where the golfers are supposed to buy their caddies a treat, I always wanted a Butterfinger bar, Baby Ruth or something, and he only gave me the choice of between peanuts and raisins. And then he took me under his wing and he would say, if man made it, don't eat it. And he would also say, if it came from a cow or a pig, don't eat it. Chris, I want you to eat 10 vegetables and 5 fruits every day for the rest of your life.
The man knew me.
That guy was ripped, but my father fell for Atkins, unfortunately, and got gout and high blood pressure and died of a fatal heart attack. And he thought, because he wanted to be masculine. But I thought Jack LaLanne was pretty masculine. He was the Arnold Schwarzenegger before his day. So
indeed. They say if it was made by a plant, eat it. If it was made in a plant, don't eat it.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one too. Right.
Anyway, thank you so much. And
you are so.
By the way, Jack was promoting mostly plant-based eating until he was 96. We're going to expect the same thing out of you because you're so good at it.
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad to help anyway. Thank you for getting this word out. It's so important. What a lovely interview. You did a great job. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be with you.
Awkward at Aberclay.
Big Latin verses. Kids, 5 of them.
Yes.
So,